What's a law that should not be a law? Civil asset forfeiture. Law enforcement can seize money or property on suspicion of it being connected to criminal activity. It's then your responsibility to prove that it's not illegal, which requires paying a lawyer, going to court, etc., which can many times cost more than the seized property. Gotta love that they call it forfeiture too, as if you somehow gave up the property and they didn't just pull up and forcefully take it from you. Like imagine some thug carjacking you and then the police calling it a generous donation and saying you have to petition a court to get back the car you donated. In the Delaware state constitution, there is an entire section on how to legally run a bingo game. Like bro, just let the grandmas bingo in peace. If you ever seen some of these grannies play bingo, you would understand the need for this law. Those games can get dangerous. In my state, our Public Service Commission approved an additional fee on power bills for homeowners who install solar panels. Not necessarily a law, but still shouldn't exist. It's a minor one, but here it's illegal for stores to sell alcohol after 10 p.m. I finish work at 10, so if I want to have a few beers at home after work I can't unless I've bought them in advance. Yet I can finish work and go straight to a pub and drink until closing time. Makes no sense. 9 p.m. in Wisconsin. Blame the Tavern League. It's to force people to go to bars. Makes sense. Edit. I haven't lived in Wisconsin for 7 years, so I don't know the current laws. If you read the responses you will see the new laws. Not being able to pump your own gas in Oregon. Drove through there once and the gas attendant came running from inside the store. He was like, I am not getting a $5,000 fine again, then proceeded to pump it for me. Poor guy had to pump all the cars and still attend the market inside the gas station by himself. This was in Eugene, Oregon to be exact. Jersey is the same. Dude chewed me out when I tried to pump my own. In South Carolina, when approaching a blind intersection in a motor vehicle you must discharge a firearm 3 times into the air to warn horse traffic. Not enforced, but technically still a law on the books. I feel like you're 100x more likely to be arrested for complying with this law than you would be for breaking it. But then again, I've never set foot in South Carolina, nor do I know anything about the state, so for all I know it could be a common occurrence there. In many states, if you are killed at your place of employment, even due to gross or literally criminal negligence on the company's behalf, your family cannot take your employer to court for wrongful death. The workman's comp gets paid out and that's the end of it, effectively making it a kill tax. It's the same way with the OSHA fines. Companies will literally weigh the cost of the fines versus revenue and risk lives. There are still municipalities in the US that have criminalized more than a certain threshold of adult women from living together without any adult men. Because obviously the only thing they could be doing together is running a brothel. Not sure how many of them are enforced by the actual local law enforcement, but there's universities that don't allow sorority houses for this reason. I think adding the guy just makes for a larger customer base. I'd like to go to Washington, where it's illegal to do this, and harass Bigfoot for being the giant hairy smelly butt fraidy cat bee that he is. In Virginia, homeowner associations can legally put a lien on your house and cause foreclosure due to unpaid dues. Hoas are scum. Ah, fuck, hoa would like a word. It's not actually a law that I am aware of, but the idea of hitting grandma with a $35 overdraft fee because she paid for both of her medicines and went over $1 seems rather stupid. You're poor. Now make up for that by giving us more money. Liquor and beer should be sold at the same hours. TBH, never understood why you can buy a 24 pack of beer at 10 p.m. but can't buy a small 11 ounces whiskey. In several states there are clauses to left laws that include possession in any manner, even unbeknownst to the individual. Many people are jailed and charged with major felonies just because they purchased legally something that was acquired illegally. The states that have these laws tend to call the charge theft by possession without the intent to deprive, and depending on the value of the item in question, this can range from a class 1 felony to a class 3 misdemeanor. Oftentimes people charged with this are unable to prove to a jury or a judge that they had no intent to deprive, and so many people get stuck with major charges just because someone didn't know the property they bought was stolen. I got arrested for giving homeless people care packages with food, water, deodorant, socks, toothbrush paste, I'm not saying I told the officer to go fornicate with himself and I was going to keep feeding the homeless. Not that it matters now, but I was part of the reason the 11th Circuit Court ruled that feeding the homeless is a form of expressive conduct protected by the First Amendment. Wherever that cop is, I hope he is fornicating himself hard with a rusty fork. In the UK there is a law that is so outdated that no one bothered to change it, and it is not taught in law schools or in police training, but it is still technically against the law to carry a fish in suspicious circumstances. It is not an old law. It has only existed since 1986. Section 32 of the Salmon makes it an offense to handle fish that has been poached, similar to how it is illegal to handle stolen goods. Not American and not specifically a law, but the plea deal scheme and for-profit prison combo. As a lawyer, seeing that bulls go on in any place is completely absurd. In Alabama it's illegal to walk around with an ice cream cone in your pocket due to way back in the days where horses were the common mode of transportation. People would steal the horses by attracting them with the ice cream in their pocket while the person claimed, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that," when they truly did. That is no longer relevant to society and that law should be taken out. I think that you folks need to keep that law. When I come up to the casino I don't need to be slipping on ice cream. Plus, if pocket ice cream catches on in Alabama, it'll be all over Florida in no time. It's illegal to distill your own alcohol. It should be allowed. And I completely understand if that includes safety regulations, since crappy stills can explode. But it's legal to grow the ingredients. It's legal to own a still. It's legal to distill things like essential oils in that still. It's legal to drink alcohol. It's legal to brew your own beer or make your own wine. It should be legal to distill your own liquor. I was going to post this too. I wasn't sure if it should be legal before, but I was looking stuff up and it's legal in lots of other countries and they do fine. There's even awesome hobby communities around distilling. There's a danger, but certainly less than many other things that are already legal. Even if it is legal between the two states you are traveling between, if the federal law makes it illegal you cannot transport it over states' lines. For example, it doesn't matter state A says weed is legal and state B says weed is legal. If you travel over the border from A to B it's a crime because of federal law. Not being able to buy health insurance across state lines. Allowing this won't fix the bulk of the problems, but it would help until there is a better solution. Restrictions on Medicare negotiating prescription drug prices. Again, it doesn't fix everything but it would help. It could pass as a standalone item with no amendments, but nobody wants to make the system better. Everybody wants a total rewrite in their own image, so it doesn't get done. Laws that allow doctors and medical facilities to charge different patients different amounts depending on their insurance company and status. A simple law that requires each facility to charge only one price for a specific procedure would eliminate so much confusion. Whatever the lowest negotiated price is for any insurance provider is the price that is to be charged for all, and posted on a website. Right now if you are looking at two identical plans from two companies with the same premium, you have no idea which will cost you more because you have no idea what your portion will actually be since they have different discounts. Laws that allow virtually unrestricted contingency fees. There should be regulation here because lawyers get too much money, particularly on class action suits, where the injured parties get peanuts. You get 3x medical for pain and suffering. Your doctors get 1/3. Your lawyer gets 50%, 40% plus costs incurred, which can be as much as 10%. You are left with 17% or, in the case of a class action lawsuit, a coupon. If any industry needs regulation, it is the ambulance chasers. Allowing this won't fix the bulk of the problems, but it would help until there is a better solution. Nah, it'd just mean all the insurance companies would relocate to the state that allows them to frick their customers the most. It's illegal in Alabama to walk with ice cream in your back pocket. I mean, why is this a law? It should be common sense. I read about that. It's related to horse theft. Really, if a horse wound up on your property, you could claim it. But it was illegal to let a horse that was not your own. So people put ice cream in their back pockets and walked in front of the horse. Yummy, the horse thought, and followed. Walk onto your property and poof, free horse. It's no longer relevant, but that's the reason that my husband has to sign his permission for me to have my tubes tied. We are in Alaska. but it goes the same way for him. He has to have my permission. I just think it's crazy because they already federally mandated to age 21 and then on top you must have permission. And then some practices want you to have multiple kids before even considering the procedure. Capital gains tax. The average person's retirement income is capital gains, and you've already paid taxes on it since you invested with post-tax income. And if the market does crappy you don't get a refund, but if you win you have to pay. And yeah, listen, I got it, all the hedge fund guys and the billionaires blah blah, capital gains tax, fair share, etc. But the vast majority of people paying it are normal people, and they've already been taxed on that income and they'll be taxed again on sales when they spend it. It's so friggin' corrupt. All religious laws, like it's fine if you want to live by a Bible, then that's fine, but don't try and force that crap on everyone else. Even though I don't live in Wisconsin, I go there from time to time, I think that outlawing margarine is just plain stupid. Our fine state doesn't take kindly to such communist misuse of dairy products. Citizens United. It basically says corporations can donate unlimited amounts of money for politicians to pass the laws requested by the corporations. Before Citizens United, there was a strict cap on the amounts allowed, and it was small. Now, the companies have unlimited power over government, and it shows. American divorce laws are completely outdated to a time when most women weren't financially independent. They still heavily favor women and need a complete overhaul. My siblings and I were not able to escape our abusive mother for this reason. She had the law on her side just because she was the mother, despite me, the oldest, and the second oldest, telling the judge everything she'd done to us and our younger siblings and telling the judge that we wanted to live with our father instead. We were old enough to have a say at 16 and 14, but we were ignored. That people with disabilities can't work or can only work part-time to receive benefits. I have a disability and think it's bulls that I can only have a certain amount of income to receive benefits. I come from a very stable financial background. Can't give out details, but I'm sick of seeing some people with disabilities living in poverty once their families aren't around anymore. There shouldn't be a law that people with disabilities can't earn their own money, if they can, while non-disabled people can earn $100,000 salaries. Note, my disability and a full-time job wouldn't go well, and I don't need to be white collar to be happy. There are 8 states in the US with laws on the books, though unenforceable, and declared unconstitutional by SCOTUS in Tarasco v. Watkins, 1961, that bar atheists from holding any public office or position of trust. For example, a notary public. Texas and Maryland are even worded along the lines of no religious test shall be required to hold office, except this one because frick you. Blue laws, here in Texas, that dictate ridiculous hours that beer can be purchased after 12 on Sundays, after 7 on weekdays, not after midnight. California's safe handgun roster. On paper it's supposed to keep arms companies from selling cheap and dangerous guns like the old Saturday night specials that were popular in the 80s and 90s, but today it's just a handgun ban with extra steps. With few exceptions, the only new guns added to the roster were made back in 2013, and nothing else can be added unless the maker incorporates a microstamp on the firing pin tip and the chamber, which is a proprietary tech that costs millions to use and can be defeated with a Dremel or a file. If a company doesn't pay annual dues to keep their products on the roster, then people can no longer buy that weapon anymore. It's also based on SKU code rather than the mechanics of the gun, so even if something like the color changes or they add an extra magazine with the package, the state requires a new approval process and fees, which are in the thousands. The kicker is that California law enforcement is allowed to buy any off-roster pistols they want, and people can buy them used once they are in the state, so they use it as source of revenue. The ATF has arrested and charged several in the last couple years for being unlicensed firearm dealers. All that, and California does not have the lowest gun crime rate or the lowest gun ownership rate. Those laws are completely ineffective for stopping people heck bent on murder. Capital gains taxes. I earn money, pay income tax. Only way to outpace inflation is to invest savings. I take all the risk. Uncle Sam gets 20%. Having marijuana classified as a Schedule 1 drug. It should be on par with alcohol, legalized nationally, and with an age usage of 18, nationally. Additionally, marijuana should be decriminalized nationwide. As a side note, I despise the fact that we can the 18th of March year-olds off to war but they can't so much as have a beer or a blunt before getting a buzz cut. Where I live in Australia, if somebody is breaking into your house and hurts themselves doing so, they can sue you and people have gotten away with it. Honestly, the dumbest crap I've ever seen. Gay marriage is illegal. I think India should work harder on stamping out the gang rape of women and children. That in Afghanistan a 9-year-old girl can be married to a man. This should be outlawed. Any country where a child can be married should be illegal. The fact that cannabis is still illegal is objectively absurd. I can legally buy a bottle of vodka and literally drink until I drop dead, but I can't buy a plant that's never killed anyone. I mean, seriously, it's easier to get a legal shotgun than it is legal weed. I keep forgetting it's illegal in some places still. I'm so used to it now. MJ has a Schedule 1 yet I can drink a bottle of booze all day every day and explode my liver but not before becoming a drag on the healthcare system. All the state laws that are trying to cripple Roe v. Wade. Funny how the pro-life crowd turned my body, my choice over the mask and vaccine mandates. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.